Next to my house, there lived a strange man named Tom. Tom never looked people in the eyes, he always stared at their stomachs. So, I have never once made eye contact with him. Whenever Tom saw me, he always repeated the same phrase. It was, "I want a hug." He loved hugging anything. He would often be seen hugging trees or poles when passing by. Once, I saw him getting slapped when he asked a stranger for a hug. It seemed like he had an intense obsession with hugging. One day, while passing by his house, I happened to see through the open front door dozens of mannequins lined up. I was shocked, but I pretended not to notice and greeted Tom. Tom smiled brightly and still stared at my stomach, arms outstretched. After that day, Tom started to give me chills. One day, he met me in front of my house and said to me, "I want to be hugged for 100 hours, but no one will hug me." Suddenly, he asked me to hug him and came towards me with his arms outstretched. I hugged him, feeling uncomfortable. He held on to me for a long time without letting go. I told him to stop hugging me, but he didn't release. Instead, he started squeezing me tightly. I pushed him away angrily, but he didn't even flinch. He shouted, "I love hugging. Don't let go. Never." It was the first time I heard him speak so loudly, and his breathing became heavy, his heart beating rapidly. I used all of my strength to pull away from him and punched him in the face. Then he ran away to his house. I followed him to his house, still angry. Looking through his window, I saw something eerie. Tom was hugging each of the mannequins one by one. Then he kicked one of the mannequins and shouted, "It's not warm enough." A few days later, in the middle of the night, I heard a knock on the door. It was Tom, holding handcuffs. My heart sank and I held my breath. He stood there for over an hour, repeating the same gesture of hugging the air. I called the police, and after a warning, they sent him home. After that day, Tom disappeared and never came out of his house for over a month. I went to his house, but there was no response. And despite several more weeks passing, Tom was nowhere to be seen. Eventually, I went to his house, and an overwhelming stench emanated from it. I eventually called the police, and they found Tom's body buried under dozens of mannequins. Among them, there was one mannequin that looked almost human, with a wig and painted eyes and mouth. Tom was lying down with the mannequin in his arms, and both of Tom's hands that were holding the mannequin were handcuffed. The cause of death was cardiac arrest.